Good evening, guys. Ken of Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for November 21st, 2023. We'll start with the Hybrid Swing Workshop portfolio. This is 30-minute charts, starting with Alcoa. There was a lot of this today. A little breakdown, tried to get short with the standard risk box, failed fast for a scratch, and then no trades the rest of the day on that one. That was a common theme, not much happening today. Next up, AI. So yesterday was that wild ride that we talked about that had this nice little gain. It rolled over, took the usual exit. Then this happened. Today it gapped, sort of settled into a sideways quiet channel, and then started failing and broke out of a move like that, took a standard risk and cashed about an R, but there was no real breakdown and big move. It was a quiet grind downward today in AI. Amazon gap down, covered at the edge of the dragon. The 1-2-3 entry would have been, or 1-2-3 exit would have been a little better. I let it go a little long, I think, for about an R. Caterpillar tried the collapsing dragon short, basically a scratch. No trade in Cliff. Tried the collapsing dragon short in Disney. That went nowhere for a scratch. Dish Network, a micro gain, really a scratch after a gap and go. Devon Energy, scratch on the 1-2-3 long. Electronic Arts. So this is one that's actually maintained some traction. So yesterday we got the COTA 2 entry with the standard risk, and it closed well. And today it just kind of continued to grind higher, and we're quietly looking at about +5 on that one, and we'll maintain that one overnight. Emerging markets, just covered the COTA 2 for about an R. It was showing weakness. Ethereum tried to 1-2-3 long, it scratched. Mexico just covered the emerging dragon long. There was an adverse gap and we were able to escape with a scratch and then no trade. Brazil, no trade. Intel covered the long at the Bollinger Band mean on the gap down for about 3R. This was up 6 at one point, and that adverse gap undercut that. IP, no trade. Real estate, no trade, and a brutal sideways quiet. Coca-Cola got an emerging dragon long, and that continued to grind higher for about 2R. That looks promising for tomorrow. Regional banks got short on a collapsing dragon for about an R. Mattel covered the short at the skin of the dragon for 2R. I like that one. That was a good trade. McDonald's, the 2-day continuation on the COTA 2 is continuing to grind, and that's about 5R and continuing to go. There never felt like an opportunity to get a second position in because it was such an incremental move. So we'll see if that continues tomorrow, and I will add at the earliest sign of strength. I will also cash at the first sign of weakness. Merck offered a kind of a surprising rollover supported fall crossing. This had such a big run up and then started to collapse hard, and so nothing else was really working, and put the standard risk on it above the high of the day, and that just fell sharply and took an exit near the in the last half hour at the skin of the dragon, and that just kind of surprisingly stumbled into a couple R. Microsoft covered the long at the open on the gap down. Marijuana, this was a SSC gift. This little explosion in the last hour, it felt too good to be true, so we just cashed an R. Nvidia, weak earnings caused a gap down and a sell off, so we exited last week's COTA 2 entry. Clean energy took a half an R. Rivian, holding that one overnight. That's about 2R in hand on a gap down below the belly of the river, and that stayed low all day and continued to slide. There was no sign of buying support whatsoever. The S&P was a sideways quiet channel. Treasuries, not much going on there. Tesla had a gap up and go. I don't usually like to hold that overnight, but the fact that it did not fail today feels like it's buying on a dip. And so we're speculating on that one overnight. Walmart, we alerted yesterday. Now, this was an intraday trade of the day, but not a swing. U.S. Steel, no trade. It was just all over the map, and couldn't find a good entry on that one. Sniper trades of the day. So these are all on 3 minutes. Here's the OR3. Tried it long. It immediately failed for -1, stopped and reversed, and was able to cash about 2R on the usual exit at the skin of the dragon. It then proceeded to take out the PSAR flip, so I treat that as an SSC long, a scratch. A short when it fell below the dragon in the usual way. Covered 1R at the skin of the dragon, reversed at the PSAR flip, and it's crossing the Bollinger Band mean. Reinforced when it crosses the VWAP. That felt pretty good. Got a second position on at the 2R battle drill for a standard exit at the skin of the dragon for about 4R. COTA 2 re-entry for another R. COTA 2 re-entry for 2 more R. And that ended up grinding into be a pretty good position altogether. So when we totaled that up, and this is in Walmart. And why were we tracing Walmart? Because we talked about it extensively yesterday. -1 here, +2, scratch, +1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4. That one's 2. That one's 1. That one's 2. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 11. So that's 11R on the grind in Walmart, for crying out loud. And that's not even getting the afternoon VWAP magnet trade on this maximum excursion. That's what the VWAP magnet trade in the afternoon looks like. So 11R in Walmart, set up by last night's discussion. Find the mover starts with the preparation phase the night before. Here's Intel. That's one of the other ones we talked about last night. This is an OR3. It breaks down, so we're short with a standard risk. It just collapses right out the gate. Get a 2R battle drill second position. And then the standard exit at the skin of the dragon for 1, 2, 3, 4R. SSC entry, half an R loss at the PSAR flip. COTA 2 re-entry, half an R loss. Sideways chop, you stay out of it. After lunch, there is like a VWAP magnet trade. That's an SSC for nothing. So the move was in the morning, stayed out of the chop pretty much, had a couple quick cuts that didn't pay or lose much. So that's Intel. That was the second of three things that we talked about last night as far as being ready for movers. Here's Brazil. There's the gap down, then an OR3. Nothing, 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 nothing. So now the OR3 trades are not working. Here's a collapsing dragon short. 1.5 R. SSC entry and the PSAR flip. 0.5 an R. So that's about 2 R in the usual grind in the morning session on Brazil. This is a WMB3. This is after lunch. This is also in Brazil because it's a frog champion. So it gets to oversold conditions. So this whole period of time, we are up here monitoring, looking for an uptick in the MACD. This is all down ticks. Here it gets flat. Here is the uptick. So now we read up. Here's the bar that closed with the uptick. So I put an entry just above the height of that candle. We get a breakout. I use the swing low as the standard risk. After the PSAR starts working, stay in it for a second position. If you get out here, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with exiting here or here or here. Nothing wrong with that, as long as you re-enter right there. Why? Because you got this and you got that. Standard work results in about 1, 2, 3, 4 on this one, 2 on that one. So even if you scratch this one, that re-entry should get you 2 on the upside. And why is that a good entry? There's a COTA 2. It's crossing the Bollinger Band mean. It's well above the 0 line in MACD. That's why. Our book is still on sale. If you haven't bought one yet, give it a try. We'd appreciate a nice review. An honest review is what we want. Hamad, this one, again, I'm going to say this again. Here is your initial risk. This thing never gets out unless you let it come all the way back here. So your maximum favorable excursion was here. So this minus 0.5 loss, and this one is that should be about a scratch. That whole thing should be a scratch, but the extra work that you're doing to try to cut losses is costing you 0.9 because you're exiting in the noise. This short, that's a good exit because it was favorable. The R10 reversed, so you took the exit at the skin of the dragon. That's good. This is a good entry. Now, you state you did not exit in the noise. Remember, this is if that's your entry, this whole thing is noise until it breaks down below there. That gets paid. Second position I like. And both of those get paid. Good work there. AI. Missed the OR3, missed the PSAR flip. This breakout, I'm not sure what that is. Let's see. Is this OR3? Oh, I guess. Is this the start of the trading day for you? Okay. The OR3, that if that's your OR3, then this little exit for minus point 0.5. I don't know why that's a minus 0.5. That should be, if that's your OR3, use that. Then you should at worst scratch that. So both of those, that's another minus 0.9 from exiting inside the noise twice. If we looked at this, we'd see a 1, 2, 3 entry somewhere in here, but there's no reason. But that's not a harsh winter for buying. This should have been maybe a scratch and then no trading the rest of the day. I think trying too hard, and you're exiting in the noise, and then over trading. This OR3 here. Let me see what that looks like. If that's the opening, mark that off in the future so I can see that, because I keep thinking that you're available to trade in this area and you're not. So if that's the OR3, that's a good cut. Then another collapsing dragon, and then cut it here. After two failed shorts, you could get long there, which would pay off those two losses. And now this is not a COTA 2 short. You don't have a COTA 2 short says this and that. You only have one higher, unless you're counting this. Maybe that's what you're doing. I think you're trying to trade instead of waiting to see the pattern. This just looks like a sideways normal action, and it's chewing you up. Remember, the SSCs, you got to see a harsh winter. And then on a COTA 2, you got to see a successful trade that made a higher low, and then it recrosses the dragon. That's what it takes to get a COTA 2. I don't think those are COTA 2s. Intel, exiting in the noise. Here's your risk box. Never touched the whole day. That short should get paid off there's your PSAR exit. It feels like that you should be getting paid in there. This one you cut too early. That one you cut too early. This one I think you cut too early. That should have been exited here. Same thing in IP. If that reversal, I can see why you would scratch that, but then when it fails again, that's clearly outside of the Z3 pinch, and I think there's a re-entry involved there. George, good. A gap and go gets a fraction. Collapsing dragon. This might have been 1 bar late, but still gets paid. This is Kevin. Yeah. This CD, that's a big time short with a risk box right here, and then you get paid, and then you take that exit after the R10 reverses. Take the exit right there, then get long here. That's reasonable. Stayed out of the chop. This is a collapsing dragon right here with an exit here. I'd try that one long. I'd cut it. I'd probably have tried that one short on a collapsing dragon, then cut it here and reversed and tried to get long. Yeah, I mean, this is a reasonable exit. This thing is just chunking along. You're starting to run out of time. and it's approaching the VWAP. That's a good way to end. You're in the last 30 minutes. You didn't give up an R because that's not available to you because you don't trade that time frame. That's an excellent exit. Treasuries. That's probably a short with a stop up in here. There's a collapsing dragon. That's a good entry on the SSC long. The problem on a profit target is that you end up selling on the front end of the hill, whereas if you take the trail, maybe you get a fractionally better. And yes, the PSAR flip is a good exit. Here's Joe. Let's see, tries the long. It reverses, or no, I guess short and then covered. Stop and reverse for 9R. Re-entry is the key to sanity. Gets the PSAR flip short. Plus 1, 0.5. Lost 1. So he ends up with right around 9R for the day. Finding the mover. This is Kevin. So the OR3 doesn't work right away, but the collapsing dragon does, with an exit right there. After the R10 reverses, then take the dragon exit. Then you make that gain on something like that much risk, probably for 2R. Reasonable effort, good cut. There's a re-entry. There's a re-entry on the VWAP continuation, but you're in a training course. And then your natural exit would have been here. Then that's possible short. This is the entry you love with an exit here. Was this appropriate to use as an emerging dragon? Well, the emerging dragon is from the top of the RL10. So that makes this an emerging dragon. That's a good exit. Let's see. Daily report. The 150-day look back. We're still very near the top of the 150. We're at the top of the 30 and the 10. Here's your 5-day range. Here's your 10-day low. So this is in danger of rolling over. We really want to see it power on through here for the rest of the week, except it won't because it's Thanksgiving. So I would be very careful tomorrow to make bank on any profits that I still had open in this period. That you get a lot of volatility and no directionality on low volume on holidays. The longer it stays here, the more likely a rollover is to occur. Great looking stats. Market is fully valued. The Dow 30, handful of auto framers, couple breakouts here in Travelers and Verizon, and Coca-Cola and McDonald's both did really well today. Maybe there's more room there. Not much happening in the ETFs, low volume day. Walmart and Intel were both good traders. Walmart on the long side, Intel on the short side. Yeah, this is what I noticed today. McDonald's and Coke, the old staples. Tesla, really strong day, 167. And little else to report on. All right, guys, that's everything we got. We'll get this published and posted, and we'll be ready for them tomorrow, last day before Thanksgiving. Take good care, and we'll see you in the chat room.